a train wreck, a disaster of the highest accord. What am I talking about here? The Republican presidential debate that happened last night. And those are probably some of the kinder words that you can have. This is just a continuing on real problem with the American public. I mean, are you telling me that these are the best that we can produce who want to be the president of the United States, the commander in chief of the most powerful country on earth? I mean, look, it almost doesn't even matter what the subjects were talked about last night. It was an embarrassment for our country. And in fact, here is a British Sky News description of what they thought of it afterwards. Roll the tape.
For them to be having this sort of shooting match, it was unbecoming. All of them was unbecoming the party. And I mean, my God, how many times, Kieran, do you reckon, old Chris Christie before the mirror, before he went out there this morning, was like, we're going to call you Donald Duck, huh? Well, making with the comedy there, big guy. It was just a painful thing to watch, and no wonder Trump has run away with that. I thought Ron DeSantis got away with a few good lines. I thought Ramaswamy got away with a few good lines. But other than that, this show needs to be called off.
I think there's a lot of people that would like to say we don't even need to have any more of these debates because the whole thing just needs to be called off. Because who likes where the end of this? Who likes where it's going to end up with? But let's stick with this one for a moment because I don't know how many of you actually watched it. I tried to watch the whole thing. I just couldn't stomach it. I just had to watch bits and pieces of it because I at least wanted to know, does any of them have any good policy positions? Where do they stand on the issues that actually matter to Americans? But instead of answering those questions, this next clip here is going to be really synonymous and illustrative of how the evening went and how critical and important it is that these guys are talking about things that matter to Americans sitting at their kitchen tables, like they used to say. Here's what they said.
As the UN ambassador, you literally put $50,000 on curtains in a $15 million subsidized location. Next.
You got bad information. Do your homework, Tim, because Obama bought those curtains.
Did you send them back?
It's in the press.
Did you send them back?
It's the State Department.
Did you send them back?
Did you send them back? You're the one that works in Congress.
Oh my gosh.
You get it
You
done.
hung them on your curtains.
They were there before I even showed up at the residence. You are scrapping.
Are you kidding me? Curtains? I mean, that's the chance. Tim Scott, that's what you want to bring up. You want to talk about curtains to the UN ambassador. I mean, all these foreign policy issues, war and peace that matters in the Russia-Ukraine situation, the risk that we face in the Asia-Pacific area, things on our southern border. I mean, all these things you could talk about. You're talking about curtains because you're looking for a way to get the opponent. And then Nikki Haley was no better. I mean, that last part there, it really looked like a couple of high school malcontents that were going at it in the middle of English class or something. And you kept wishing that the teacher would jump in there and get them both under control, but instead they just continued to run. And that was indicative of the whole night. I mean, there was those kinds of childish exchanges all night long. And look, if this is Comedy Central or something, that's one thing. And if you're just looking for some entertainment, let these guys go on a talk show, give them their own little talk show or something and, entertain people. But you're talking about people who aspire to the highest office in our land. And of course, Donald Trump wasn't there, and he's one of it. And of course, we know of all of his troubles. I mean, this guy, goodness gracious, how is he going to avoid being in jail when it comes time for the next inauguration? That remains to be seen. And that guy, who's, I think it's 70 some odd criminal counts that he's facing in 4 or 5 different, lawsuits, who can even keep track of them now? I mean, he might not even be out of jail. He might not be a free man by then. And he's the one that's 40 points ahead of all these, nonsense people. And again, you have to ask, what is going to be the future of the United States when it's either going to be one of those or Donald Trump or a guy who could be in his upper 80s if he lives through the next administration and is clearly having some difficulties even walking and talking. I mean, just the basics here. That can't be the best America can do. And man, it is time for us to have some quality people. And look, America is filled with quality people. There are men and women, I've personally seen them, that would be a spectacular president. There's no question about it. But our system is so messed up that only people who act like clowns and just jaw jack all the time and misbehave and throw out these incendiary comments because it gets tweets, it gets likes, it gets media attention because all the networks are going to be talking about a lot of that stuff today. So they see it works. And the people who have quality, who want to actually talk about the issues and actually have a plan how to get them, they don't run because they don't get the airtime. The networks won't cover them. This social media doesn't cover that because, they're not part of the clown show. And, at some point, we're going to really regret this because at some point, we're only going to get somebody who's really good at being a clown show. And we're not going to have access to the highly qualified people that we need when things get tough. If it's an easy world, if things are fine out there, it's no problem. We can take care of that. You can be a clown show. We've seen it in Congress. I mean, the same thing up there, up north of here. That can happen. You can stumble along because this country is so great and so powerful that a lot of the country itself can go along while this happens in the background. But if we have a crisis, whether that's a financial crisis, whether it's a national security crisis, something unexpected happens, and we need real leadership, this is not the stuff we want our leader cut out of. And we better start doing something to get those real leaders actually elevated and give them a chance to compete on these stages, or we're going to regret it, I fear. And only time's going to tell how that's going to work out. That's it for this episode, and we will see you on the next episode.